Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Dr. Ejean Pemberton of PJ Education Group. And if you are viewing my video for the very first time, thank you so much for clicking and to be able to watch this video. If you are a returning viewer, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for coming back. Now, I do videos for my GED scholars, and I also do videos for my college colleagues. And so this one, of course, you see the background. It is focusing on my colleagues who are working on their doctoral program. So the series that I'm doing is titled Getting to the Finished Line, and it's just whatever doctorate degree you're working on, whether it's a PhD, an ED, JD, whatever your doctorate is. The purpose of my series is to share with you some of my experiences earning my doctorate degree, and hopefully the experiences that I'm sharing with you will help you along your way as you are getting to the finish line. So the focus of this video is ABD, all but dissertation. So I'm going to do a couple of videos on the ABC side of the doctoral program, and I will pick up on some videos related to prior to getting to dissertation status. But this one is focusing on you just finished your written exams, you passed your written exams, you have passed your oral exams, and now you are ABD status. You are all but dissertation. You've done your coursework, you've done everything else, and now you are launched into the dissertation status. And so I want to talk about the beginning stages of my experience. And again, I want to just kind of of this discussion. What I'm sharing with you is my experience. Each doctorate program has its own uniqueness about the program, the expectations of the program, and your steps. So there are some general guidelines that all doctoral students, participate and use. There are some general experiences that all doctoral students experience. But then there are some uniqueness about it. Let me get that word down. It's been a long week. And so I'm sharing with you my experience, and hopefully, again, some of the things that I'm sharing with you will be helpful for you. So for me, when I got to my ABD status, I took my coursework and my main coursework that was part of the program. And then I had to take some hours related to the electives that was going to help me with my focus research. And so one of those electives wasn't required during my cohort, but I believe became a required class, was a methods class. And so I'm so appreciative. I took a methods class. I've spoken about a methods class in another video. And if you can, make sure that as you are preparing to get to ABD status, make sure you take a methods class. That's going to be very, very helpful. So I took all of my core classes. I took and passed all of my elective classes. And then I had to do my written exams. There were 2 days of written exams that I had to take and pass. And after my written exams, I did my oral exams. And that was before a committee of faculty members and the program chair. And, again, it was an oral exam about pretty much what I wrote. My written exams is pretty much that. So, yeah, and I'm going to have a video that's going to focus and share with you my experiences about the written exams, my experiences about the oral exams. But I got past that, and then I was launched into ABD, all but dissertation. So this is what this particular video is going to focus on. And I took some notes as an educator. I always got to have my notes, whether it's PowerPoint or not. And I want to share with you a couple of things that I believe is going to be helpful for you as you are preparing now that you're in your ABD status, or maybe you're just researching to understand and receive clarity about what it's like to be in a dissertation status. So, and that's what ABD means, all but dissertation. ABD means it's an acronym for all but dissertation. It's a great place to be, but it is the most challenging, in my opinion, place to be, because after you've done your coursework where you are guided through the process, because as a scholar, you do coursework in your bachelor's degree, coursework in your master's degree. And so you're following, protocols and pursuing in the same method, but dissertation is very different. Now you don't have a guided faculty member in a sense where you're in the classroom every day. You have a chair, committee chair, and committee members, but the process and the experience is so different. So for the ABD status, the first thing that I would recommend, if you can, is once you pass successfully your oral exams, if that's required, then you want to schedule a meeting with your department chair. If they haven't made that as a protocol for you, you definitely want to set up a meeting with your department chair. Now you need to have clarity of what's next, the phases that you need to go through so you can accomplish dot all of those I's, cross all of those T's. You don't want to launch into your journey without having an understanding of what's expected from you in this status, because then you're going to end up having to work backwards to, fix what areas you did not, I would say you end up having going backwards, because then you would have done some things that probably didn't match what the protocols were, and now you put out this effort that was unnecessary and a waste of time. So you don't want to waste your time in ABD status. You don't want to waste your time at all for a doctoral in this doctoral degree. So you want to schedule a meeting with your department chair, okay, whoever he or she is. Schedule a meeting with your department chair as soon as possible if they haven't already tugged at your shoulders, tap your shoulders and say, hey, it's time for us to get set up a meeting. When you meet with your department chair, typically in the ABD status, usually they will have a standard of what their expectations are. Typically, it will be in some type of file that you can have. They may put it in your some schools have like Canvas or whatever. You may have access to that information, but howsoever, you definitely want to meet with the department chair. You want to understand the protocols of being in an Albert dissertation status. Part of the protocol is determining who your dissertation chair is going to be, because your dissertation chair and committee may not be the same individuals that was part of your written exam committee and your oral exams. So this may be that you could have the same people, but you may have different individuals. For my written and oral exams, the committee members came from the coursework that I took, the classes that I took. So those were members on my oral exams and my oral exam and my written exam. For my committee, I did have one individual who was part of my dissertation committee that was one of my faculty members doing my coursework, but everyone else was not on my dissertation committee. I did attempt to get individuals to join, and it was just difficult, conflicting of scheduling and the things that they had to focus on. So I wasn't successful. But you definitely want to know what the process is of your committee chair, your dissertation chair. At Southern Methodist, which is where I received my doctorate, my recent doctorate, I had to choose a chair that was a faculty member, full-time faculty member of the university. That's probably pretty standard. So because that person has a very good working knowledge of the expectations of the university. And again, you want to make sure that your work meets the standard of that university. So the dissertation chair is going to be typically a full-time faculty member who has a status of producing quality work on a publishing level. So that is going to be typically your dissertation chair. So you want to think about that. Even if you're not in all but dissertation status, if you're still in the coursework, you want to have in mind someone that matches your personality, who you get along with, but will help you to produce a quality paper. You want to think about that. You don't want to wait until you get to the ABD status. But if you did, it's okay. It's no worries. If you don't have a person in mind, your chair, your department chair could probably, I'm sure, can recommend individuals for you to schedule a meeting with, and you all have an opportunity to talk and share your thoughts about your research, and they can let you know if it's a project they feel comfortable working with you, and to help you to further along your journey, help you as you go further along your journey. So you definitely want to know the protocols of choosing a dissertation chair, as well as committee members. So I had to have at least the third reader had to be part of the universities. They could be an adjunct professor, a part-time teacher, professor, but they had to be a staff member of my university. So I had to have two members on my committee that was part of the university. One, my chair had to be a full-time faculty member. The other person could be a part-time. The third person did not have to be on staff, but they had to meet the matrices, right? They had to meet the standards of Southern Methodist. And so my second reader was from was one of my faculty members who actually gave me a letter of reference to enter into this doctoral program that I just finished. And so he was at another university and he was able to be on my committee. So they did, of course, they vetted him out, vetted his information, not necessarily spoke to him, but vetted his information. His information met the standards of the university. And so he was able to be on my committee. So you definitely want to know the protocols for that. So that's something with your department chair that you want to talk about. The other piece that you need to know is your paper format. You should have an idea by now what your paper format is supposed to be. If there is a flexibility with paper formats for your program, then you want to default to your committee chair to see what they are more familiar with and what works best for them. That's important. Even if you've gotten used to a particular standard, you want to make sure that your dissertation chair is comfortable with your writing methods or your choice of whether it's APA to Arabian style, and that's what I'm speaking of as it relates to paper formats, because they have a full schedule. They're full-time faculty members, so you don't want to do anything that's going to negatively impact their schedule, and they don't have time to try to learn a different format if they're not used to it. But now, of course, your standard approach first goes to your department chair and that department. That department may have already a standard where your paper has to be written in a certain manner. If so, stick with that. If not, then go to your dissertation chair. Also, you need to know how long the paper must be, the minimum pages of your dissertation, and then ask also for the maximum. What is considered too much, right? You want to stay within that middle happy median or a little bit more to get to close to the maximum, but not in totality. So definitely want to know how many pages, because that's also going to help you, and it helped me put together my dissertation when I understood what was my minimum and what was my maximum as far as the number of pages. Some dissertation programs don't necessarily give you a quote for the number of pages. They may say so many words. Okay. So you just need to know, again, what the expectations are. The other piece that you want to speak to your department chair is IRB processes. If you haven't learned about what the expectations are for the university as it relates to IRB, you want to know what the protocols are for IRB. Even if you feel like you're not going to have to use IRB, you still want to have a working knowledge. That's going to be important because you just never know the direction your research is going to take you. And what you don't want is your timeline to be negatively impacted because you weren't prepared to go and get approved if you have to get approval when it comes to IRB. And that leads me into timeline. Know your timeline, understand what your timeline is. You're going to have to put together a prospectus. And so if you're looking to try to finish your dissertation within a year after your written and all exams, you need to know your timelines when everything has to be completed at a certain time period, and turned in and receive approval so that you can go to the next phase. Because your first phase is the prospectus, which is your proposal. And the proposal is basically a draft of what your big picture for your dissertation is going to look like. And it is a proposal of why your research, your subject should be, why your subject should be researched and how it's going to bring value and add value to the body of knowledge. Okay, so you're basically trying to convince your dissertation chair, your department chair, and committee members why your research is going to add value to the body of knowledge. Okay, so that's what a prospectus is. And I'll talk a little bit more about the prospectus before I finish this video. So you want to schedule a meeting with your department chair. It will be helpful if you have questions already written out, have a little bit of an outline of things that you want to discuss. If you have a lot of questions, I would, in my opinion, this is what I've done, and I'm sure you're probably already doing it. That's why you're watching this video, is to do your own personal research on, uh, dissertation and what the expectations are so that you can come to the table with questions. Okay, so that's going to be important. So if you can put an outline together, and it would be really good if you can submit that little outline, you're a scholar now, to ahead of, in advance to your department chair, because your department chair's schedule is busy. That person is very busy. They're running a whole department, making sure it stays accredited, making sure it meets the standards of the university. So if you have an outline already put together that you can email in advance, and they can peruse and look at your outline and have some ready answers for you, or maybe even follow up with an email, that would be so helpful. But I don't want to discourage you from doing a one-on-one. If it's, if you're taking this online, a virtual class or distance learning class, do a Zoom. Make sure you meet with your department chair one-on-one. That's important. So if it's in person, if it's possible in person, that's much, much better. But if you can't meet in person, definitely meet face-to-face on Zoom. Do not have an email going back and forth. You're at the beginning stages of your dissertation. You do not want the foundation of your dissertation to be shaky, because again, you're going to have to walk backwards to fix some things, and you don't have time to do that. Listen to me. I'm telling you, you don't have time, because that messes up your timeline. Okay. So again, schedule your meeting with your department chair, put together before your meeting an outline of questions that you may have and expectations. When you meet with your chair, make sure that they have something in writing for you. Typically they do, and usually they will give it to you in writing, of the processes and the protocols of dissertation, life after after the written and oral exams. You definitely want clarity on your dissertation chair, what the process is of determining your dissertation chair. If you are watching this video and you haven't gotten to the point of dissertation only, all but dissertation, I would think about some of the professors that you're meeting with and see if one of them will be a person that you would consider to be your dissertation chair, as well as members of your committee, if it's possible. Okay, that would help reduce some of the anxieties that I know some of my colleagues have experienced in putting together a healthy dissertation. You want somebody that has a really good personality that matches with yours. Not that anyone has a bad one, I don't know. I hope not. But you want to find some a dissertation chair and committee members who match your personality, but listen up, we'll make sure that you are productive and publish and produce a quality paper. That's important. So you want to do that. You don't want somebody that's just going to be lost in the sauce. And when I say that, somewhere ghosting and not really invested in you as a future doctor. Yeah, a future doctor, right? Doctor. So that I would tell you, you want to do your research. Okay. So now if you have instructors, faculty members that you've taken classes from, and no one fits the bill, hopefully you don't find yourself in that situation. But if case that does, I would probably recommend, before you get so far into the coursework where you're towards the end, start talking to your department chair prior to your oral exams and speak with them and ask them, is there anybody that they could recommend for you that would, possibly could be a good candidate and that would be approved by the department to, be your chair or on the committee? Because again, all of them have to be approved. So you can't just pick anybody or pick someone and your department chair has not approved your chair committee, your dissertation chair, chair, and your chair committee members. Okay, so you have to make sure you have those names in place. You have, I asked each person that was on my committee to submit the vita so that I can submit their name with the vita. So it was easy for my department chair to read their information, know who they are, their protocols, especially because I had one person that was at another university. So they could see the quality work that has already been published by my committee members. And, so I didn't have any type of negative feedback from my committee members. So you want to do that, especially if they're not on the university. I'm going to reemphasize, if they're not on the university, you definitely want to make sure that you have their vita and that that person does add value to your university. So now, I mean, to your dissertation. So now I'm going to say this also. When you choose someone who is on your committee and your chair, you definitely want someone who has a background on the type of research that you're going to do. So what does that mean? That means if you have a particular subject you're going to focus on, for instance, if your subject is in business, you want somebody who has a background in business. You don't want to pick a chair committee person that has a background in music and is not the business side of music. You've got to have someone who is invested and vested in your subject, because that's going to be critical for you as you develop your dissertation, as you develop your, go through your research and, your findings begin to evolve. You need someone who's going to be able to provide you with some valuable feedback on your documentation. Committee members also should have an experience on the type of methods that you want to choose to use. My research for this particular doctorate was mixed methods. So when I chose my second committee member, in mind, I already knew this person was good with quantitative work, and that was one of my weak areas. So I had someone on my committee members that helped to strengthen me in that area of my weakness. So you want to consider also the type of research that you're going to do, if it's going to be a qualitative research, if it's going to be quantitative, or a mixed methods. And again, if you are strong in qualitative work, but you're doing a mixed methods, you want to find somebody who's good at quantitative, because you're going to have to do your data analysis, use SPSS or whatever programs are out there to help you to go through your data and make it make sense. Okay, so that's what you want to discuss. Also, don't forget about the IRB process. Just have a good working knowledge of IRB. Now, typically with qualitative research, you usually have to get IRB approval. Usually, not always, but just depends on your approach. If you're going to do informal interviews, formal interviews, if you're going to do observance of individuals, then you have to have an IRB approval, okay? And that can impact your timeline if you don't get in front of that. The IRB. As a matter of fact, oftentimes when you submit your prospectus, they're going to want you to have the IRB process in place. If not completed already, well, probably not completed, but at least understanding what that looks like, and you're moving forward in the direction. I had a committee member that worked on IRB committee, so I was blessed and fortunate to be able to have the type of coaching and guidance that I need to put together my submission to IRB. I had to actually take a class, so there's a possibility that you would have to do so as well and receive a certificate. After taking the class, I think I had to take a quiz as well, a test, an assessment. That's what we call it, an assessment. And then once I received my certificate, my chair also had to take a coursework or two and receive a certificate. But my chair was already on a dissertation on the IRB committee, so she has that information in her pockets, which is good. And it's good for like 5 years. But again, you need to know IRB, what the expectations are, and if that's something that's very possible that you will have to get approval. And originally, the way I was going about putting together my dissertation, IRB originally was not one of my check boxes to check off, but it became one. So I was glad that it was recommended to me by my chair to go ahead and move forward in that direction, because it would have created additional time on my long timeline, because it took me a long time to finish this degree. All right, so that's the first thing. Now, number two is after you have met with your department chair, then you need to set up a meeting with your dissertation chair. Now, if you don't know this person, you definitely want to schedule a time where you all can meet in person if it's possible. If it is possible, if it is not possible, set up a time to do a Zoom so that you all can discuss what your thoughts are as it relates to the research that you want to do, your approach, what methods approach that you're looking. I would have a notes, pen and paper, so you can take copious notes if that person that you're meeting with, that potential candidate to be your dissertation chair, provides you with feedback and words of wisdom. Okay. And just like your department chair, I would have an outline of what you want to discuss with your dissertation candidate, your dissertation chair candidate. Have an outline so that, again, their time is not wasted with you guys just having a random conversation about certain things, but it's intentional, right? So everything is all about intentional. So you set up a meeting, and also for your committee members as well, schedule a meeting to meet with each individual after you've met with your chair. That's important, your potential chair. And once you have established your committee members, if you didn't do it prior to meeting with your department chair, and you feel comfortable with the individuals who are going to be on your committee, I would put together a folder with the information, a CV of your committee members, and submit kind of like a little miniature proposal of who your committee members are going to be, and of course who your committee chair is out of the list of candidates, so that your department chair can start making some decisions for you. So your timeline is, you have a timeline. So that's going to be important for you to do that. Also, when you meet with your candidate and you have decided that the department chair is who that person is and your chair has been approved, you want to make sure, even after you've met with them and you guys feel like there's a great vibe and this candidate probably will be approved, go ahead before you end that meeting, schedule a time to meet with them again. I would say maybe in about a week or two, because if that's a chair, that's a good candidate, you're going to have some assignments from the chair to get some things done related to your dissertation. So I would put yourself on a clock so that you don't take forever getting back with them. Also getting on their calendar, because again, your dissertation chair is going to be a busy person, Typically, they are teaching, right? Or they're leading a department. And so they don't have a lot of time to waste. And oftentimes, a good dissertation chair is someone who is chairing other dissertation committees. So just make sure that use your time with that person wisely and schedule your time. So don't just say, okay, well, I'll get back with you, or I will email you when I get, to a certain point so we can schedule a meeting. That is a huge, I would say, don't do that. Okay. To me, don't do that. I've done that and then I stop. So typically when I'm on my on a conference with my committee members, or even my department chair, if it's something that I have to follow up with them right then and there before we end our meeting, we're scheduling the dates. So therefore, I don't have to chase them to get back on their calendar. I have their attention. And with that attention, I'm going to schedule a date that we can both agree on. Okay. So now once you have put together, you set up your meeting with your department chair, you're good, you've got everything locked in, your protocols are in place, and then you set up your meeting with your dissertation chair, and you've got approval of your dissertation chair, your committee members. Then you want to start two things, and I don't know if I would say simultaneously, but I would say these two things are very, very important. The first thing is you got to put together your prospectus. So a prospectus is a presentation proposal to your dissertation committee chair, committee members, and your department chair on your research. You are trying to convince them, is what I shared earlier, that your decision, your subject, your research is going to add value to the body of knowledge. So a prospectus, a dissertation prospectus proposal, typically the length is about 1/4 of the minimum of pages for your dissertation. So for instance, if you have a dissertation and the minimum pages is 200 pages, then you want to have about a 50-page prospectus, okay? And it's going to be about 3 chapters. So the first chapter is your introduction. The second chapter is going to be your lit review. The third chapter is going to discuss your methods, your approach for your methodology. And I am going to do a separate video discussing prospectus, but definitely that's where what your prospectus is going to look like. And again, remember your timeline, because you need to make sure your timeline syncs with your dissertation chair and your department chair and your committee members, so that you can get your work done, submit it to your dissertation chair, let them review it, review your perspectives, and when I say it, your perspectives, as well as your committee members. There may be some feedback, follow some of that feedback, or they may ask you to explain something, your approach. And then after all minds are clear, you then can submit a, to your a copy or version, a final version to your department chair, or your dissertation chair can do such as submit to your department chair. And um, after, well, let me go backwards. Once you have gotten your prospectus approved, and typically once you are putting it together, typically you're putting your prospectus together, and once you start hitting the bells and whistles and your chair and committee members are fine with it, then there may have a meeting, a prospectus meeting for you to defend, to discuss your prospectus in whole based on what you've submitted. They may do a formal version of that. Some do, some do not. I went through that process. Once you go through the formal and the proposal, it meets their needs, their standards, then they will notify, based on protocol processes, the department chair, and then you have the green light to start your research. Okay, you have the green light to start your research. So I know I'm saying a lot, but this is a video, which is a good thing, which means on the video, you can go back and listen to some of the things that I'm sharing with you. And I'm going to review it again. So let me say this. Point number two, one was schedule a meeting with your department chair. Now we're talking about your dissertation chair. Again, have your outline. You're going to, if this is someone you don't know, then definitely you guys need to meet each other, discuss what your research is all about, and listen to them to see, if they can provide you feedback. Hopefully they will. And hopefully they have a working knowledge about your research. To have a chair that is not knowledgeable about your research at all is dangerous. So I would not recommend. I would recommend having a chair that has a pretty good knowledge about your research, because they're going to add value to and help you with the steps, add value to your research, help you with the steps and the processes of getting the best out of your research, because they got to put their name on your research at the end of the day and approve it. So definitely do that. So have a checklist together. We've talked about that. And then your prospectus, again, there are 3 chapters: introduction, lit review, and a miniature lit review, not the full-fledged. It's a miniature, but it's still quite a few pages. And chapter 3 discusses your methodology. All right. Now, once you have your committee approved, once your prospectus has been approved, then you're getting ready to write your paper. And before you do that, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I say it can kind of happen simultaneously, or you might take a necessary break and move into this piece, or this may be the first thing you do before you get with your department chair. Okay. And that is, well, no, you have to wait until your research has been approved. Funding and fellowships. Okay. So now, if I were to grade myself on funding and fellowships, and I'm probably going to do another separate video on this, but I want to include this video with this information in this particular video, because I think it's important. If I was to grade myself, I would have failed in this area big time, because I didn't understand the value of funding and fellowships. I did receive scholarships, but I could have received a lot more scholarships. And now I'm on scholarship committees, and I could just be kicking myself like, oh, this money's out here. I did not seize the moment, but I know better now. So, and I have a child that's in college, so I know better. I'm going to do better. Go out there and find out what money is available to you. You're going to need that money. I promise you. Money is going to become an issue as you move forward towards this dissertation, unless you got a grip of money and you don't want to get a whole bunch of student loans and get a debt. So go for these scholarships or fellowships. You can, Fulbright is a good example, and I would try to get a fellowship from them. Most universities have scholarships available, and so you want to learn more about scholarships. If you're, I would try to get into the know of scholarships and fellowships. A lot of universities have organizations that are directly connected to your school of education or business or whatever school you're in. And so you want to know about scholarships and fellowships that are available. Some people think it takes away from their time of research. That was my mistake, my misstep. I thought that way as well. But if you receive scholarships and fellowships, it actually opens up doors, which I learned way down towards the end of my dissertation. Uh, it they open up a lot of doors. You're connected to people, one, with funding, which is great, but opportunities and research that will be helpful for you, um, during this time period of your research. So, and again, it depends. If you're trying to finish it in 1 year, you have all the funding you need. Fellowship and scholarships is not necessary, then don't worry about any of that. But if you feel like your funding is tight and you don't want to worry about funding, you just want to do your research, before you get knee deep into your research, find out what scholarships and fellowships are out there for you. It's plenty. I am going to start working on compiling a list as well, and working with doctoral scholars and master scholars, those who are in their master's degree, on connecting to these scholarships that are available, because I want people to be well and do well and be successful. So I don't have it together yet, but that's one of my to-do lists. Hopefully within this year I can put something together. But find funding and fellowships that will help you doing your dissertation process. And there are some programs that work directly with what you're researching. There's some programs that have some fellowships that are available for you during the summertime, and you get a chance to travel and use that experience, that travel experiences. You can document and put that as part of your research as well, your experience. So it's a lot out there, and I would talk with your department chair and ask your department chair about funding that's available. That person should have some idea of what funding is available. If they don't, they should have an idea of who to send you to help you in that particular area. That is something we have available at my university. I wasn't really aware of the funding, the level of funding that was available. I did take advantage of some that was presented to me, but not as much as I could have. I could have done a better job. And so I am going to encourage you to do that. And that's part of your planning. Plan your work your plan, put your schedule together, your timeline together, but you put your money together as well. That's just as equally as important when you're in this dissertation status, because you don't want your mind to be worried about funding. You need to focus on your research. Okay, so my 3 things, everybody listen up. Meet with your department chair. Okay, meet with your department chair, and you can go back and review this video on everything I said under that first bullet. The second bullet of ABD status at the very beginning is meet with your dissertation chair after you've met with your department chair. And then the third thing is meet with the person who can help you find the money. Okay, so and then you do your own research. There are fundings and fellowships that is available for you where you should not have to pay to be a doctorate student. You should not have to pay. Okay, mistake. That's mistakes. Again, take it from me. Listen to what I'm sharing with you. There is money out there, and it is important. Even if you have to take 2 weeks out of your time period of studying to research and find the funding, it is worth it, because if you can get that funding in place to take care of your post your ABD status, that's a huge weight off of your shoulders. And the reason why I'm saying you need to find out, because there are deadlines, just like anything else, to apply for fellowships and scholarships. So you don't want to miss the deadline. Okay, you want to put yourself in a positive position, in a positive light. And whenever you receive scholarships and fellowships and you are approved, once you finish your degree, you can put that information of the fellowships and scholarships you received on your CV, on your resume, because you are a recipient, which means that you earned funding for your research. And that's what it's all about. It's about research, writing, reading, research, writing, and getting funding for it. Okay, so those are your 4 things: reading, research, writing, and getting funding. Okay, that funding is key and critical. And I'm definitely going to put together a video just focusing on the funding, because even for me, I had to grow up in that particular area. All right, hopefully what I've shared with you is beneficial. As you are working on your doctorate degree, I'm so excited for you. I'm so proud of you, because you are watching this video, which means you are either deciding to earn a doctorate, you are in the doctorate journey, you are, you know, either doing your classwork, your coursework, or you are preparing for your oral exams, your written exams, and you're moving into ABD status, or you're already in the ABD status and you're just needing some tips on some of the things that I provided for you. All right, so now I've shared with you my 3 tips, but I want to give you words of encouragement and something that I had to do to get myself to the finish line. I'm going to probably preach this into ad nauseum, is to make sure that you remove all of the clutter out of your life so you can get to the finish line. That's important. And I shared this earlier with someone I was with, is I had to move all of the small little things because all of the small little things was adding up to big things. So if I spent 10 minutes with this person, 10 minutes on this project, 15 minutes over there, 30 minutes over there, all of a sudden 2 of my precious hours where I could have researched, read, researched, and wrote has been used to help other people with their things, right? Or even just scrolling online and watching stuff on social media. So make sure that you unclutter or declutter, let me say that's the word, declutter your space and your world of those little things so that you can have value time, valuable time to prepare to get to the finish line. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully what I've shared with you is helpful for you on your dissertation, your doctorate journey. Please do a favor, like this video. If there's something that I've shared that works for you, share this video with someone who you know is in their doctoral program. And then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, I want to hear some great news. So if you can, also post comments to let me know where you are. And I can send you some encouragement or provide you with some additional feedback as you prepare to get to the finish line. Stay blessed.